then again, by itself, and partially because there's just not enough information to cover it in any kind of lengthy way. But the other story that I thought mimicked things that were going on today is this Washington Times front page story that popped up one time, was reported on one time in this one issue that was yanked off the shelves by the Secret Service in 1989 during Bush Sr.'s presidency. This Washington Times article, the headline is Homosexual Prostitution Inquiry Ensnares VIPs with Reagan and Bush. Callboys took midnight tour of the White House. Now, this is something that a lot of people are they've maybe heard of this, maybe, or they've heard people mention it, but they don't know the actual storyline. And again, this is the only fucking article about it. There were other articles a little bit but it came afterwards, but then they all kind of came to a close rapidly afterwards, and we'll talk about why. But again, this is just more confirmation that the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is a Republican administration, and there's a sex for blackmail or some kind of weird gay underage sex, because that's the thing. That was the allegation. There were a lot of underage boys being trafficked to powerful people. Now, I'll give you kind of a lowdown, a little timeline of what this was, and then we'll actually. I found a local news reporter's voice from 1989 to voice the article, because I thought it would be kind of fun, and it sounds. I think it's one of the voice clones that work the best out of anything I've ever done. But to give you a kind of a timeline of what happened in 1988. You started to have rumors that there was a lobbyist by the name of Craig Spence was having these wild parties. Craig Spence, who was a faggot, was throwing these crazy fag parties, and they involved top brass in the military, journalists, very high up in the government people, people in the administration, cabinet position people, political appointees, local and federal government in D.C. And there were rumors that some of these escorts that were at these parties were underage. So they were having underage. Look, this continued to keep happening. Dennis Hastert was after this. So this is in 1988. You had a good number of powerful Republicans in Washington, D.C., partying with underage male prostitutes. And this was not just some, secret pedo dungeon type of operation. Craig Spence, had access to the White House and would often give late night tours of the White House that included these little boys. So there were people potentially fucking little boys in the White House on a regular, in the White House on a somewhat regular basis. So rumors were spreading of this happening, and that there were also rumors that he was videotaping the parties, and that there were possible blackmail connections, and there were connections to intelligence agencies. Now, as far as I can tell, because I obviously looked, Craig Spence does not appear to be Jewish, and I don't know that his connection to Mossad is the connection so much as it might have just been a CIA connection. He claimed later that it was a CIA connection, but I don't know. There's no way to know. So anyway, rumors kept spreading. In early 1989, and there was a federal investigation into the male prostitution ring after, of course, like this was becoming the talk of the town. And by June 29th, when this article was written in the Washington Times, that really kind of blew the lid off of it. So the article alleges that, and we'll go over it, that there were major prominent figures that were part of the pedo ring. That identified Craig Spence as the key facilitator, and that it also claimed that he was arranging these White House tours and possibly blackmailing people. So then by July, so the month after this article was printed, White House officials confirmed that the late night tours had taken place. And they threw a Secret Service agent under the bus, claiming that they had no idea that it was happening, that it was just this rogue Secret Service agent that was letting them in. At this point, Craig Spence is kind of in the crosshairs of a lot of powerful people. He starts claiming that he's working with the CIA, and he also told reporters that, quote, "I didn't do anything that the big boys didn't do." He also said that he feared for his life, and we'll get on to that. So this is the article from 1989, the front page article that most people don't even know existed.
A homosexual prostitution ring is under investigation by federal and district authorities and includes among its clients key officials of the Reagan and Bush administrations, military officers, congressional aides, and U.S. and foreign businessmen with close social ties to Washington's political elite. Documents obtained by the Washington Times reveal. One of the ring's high-profile clients was so well connected, in fact, that he could arrange a middle-of-the-night tour of the White House for his friends on Sunday, July 3rd of last year. Among the 6 persons on the extraordinary 1 a.m. tour were 2 male prostitutes. Federal authorities, including the Secret Service, are investigating criminal aspects of the ring and have told male prostitutes and their homosexual clients that a grand jury will deliberate over the evidence throughout the summer, the Times learned. Reporters for this newspaper examined hundreds of credit card vouchers drawn on both corporate and personal cards and made payable to the escort service operated by the homosexual ring. Many of the vouchers were run through a so-called sub-merchant account of the Chambers Funeral Home by a son of the owner without the company's knowledge. Among the client names contained in the vouchers and identified by prostitutes and escort operators are government officials, locally based U.S. military officers, businessmen, lawyers, bankers, congressional aides, and other professionals. Editors of the Times said the newspaper would print only the names of those found to be in sensitive government posts or positions of influence.
Swish this special liquid in your mouth before bed to rebuild your teeth and gums while you sleep. Did you know there
is no intention of publishing names or facts about the operation merely for titillation, said Wesley Pruden, managing editor of the Times. The office of U.S. Attorney J.B. Stevens, former deputy White House counsel to President Reagan, is coordinating federal aspects of the inquiry but refused to discuss the investigation or grand jury action. Several former White House colleagues of Mr. Stevens are listed among clients of the homosexual prostitution ring, according to the credit card records, and those persons have confirmed that the charges were theirs. Mr. Stevens' office, after first saying it would cooperate with the Times inquiry, withdrew the offer late yesterday and also declined to say whether Mr. Stevens would recuse himself from the case because of possible conflict of interest. At least one highly placed Bush administration official and a wealthy businessman who procured homosexual prostitutes from the escort services operated by the ring are cooperating with the investigation. Several sources said among clients who charged homosexual prostitution services on major credit cards over the past 18 months are Charles K. Dutcher, former Associate Director of Presidential Personnel in the Reagan administration, and Paul R. Bollock, Labor Secretary Elizabeth Dole's political personnel liaison to the White House. In the 1970s, Mr. Dutcher was a congressional aide to former Rep. Robert Bauman, Maryland Republican, who resigned from the House after he admitted having engaged in sexual liaisons with teenage male. Mr. Dutcher also worked on the staff of Vice President Dan Quayle when he represented an Indiana district in the House. A charge also was discovered against the credit card of a former White House staffer who prepared the president's daily news summary in the Reagan administration. Todd A. Blodgett said he had not made the charge. One of the ring's big spending clients is Craig J. Spence, Washington socialite and international trade consultant, according to documents and interviews with operators and prostitutes who say they engaged in sexual activities with Mr. Spence. Mr. Spence spent upwards of $20,000 a month for male prostitutes who provided sex to him and his friends.
$20,000 a month in 1989 money, by the way. $20,000 a month in gay prostitutes from this guy, Craig Spence. Anyway, it continues. One thing that they do, they obsess over the credit card aspect of it, which is kind of annoying. It's kind of what they did with the Dennis Hastert reporting too, where they obsessed less about the fact that he was getting gay prostitutes and more, and not even prostitutes. He was banging underage gay boys, and more about the fact that he used campaign funds to pay them off to not say anything, which was a campaign finance violation, which is like, okay, campaign finance violation, whatever. He's fucking little boys. He's fucking little boys. And there's kind of a sense that you kind of get the same attitude with this paper's reporting too, where they focus a lot on like the credit card aspect of it, because there's credit card fraud and whatever, and it's like they're fucking little boys in the White House. Who cares about the credit card shit?
Said to include military personnel who also acted as his bodyguards. It was Mr. Spence who arranged the nocturnal tour of the Reagan White House. Repeated attempts to reach Mr. Spence by telephone, fax machine, and personal visits to his home were unsuccessful. Credit card vouchers confirmed that Mr. Spence charged thousands of dollars on American Express and Visa cards, sometimes making $600 charges against his cards several times a day, drawn in behalf of an escort service called Professional Services Incorporated. Professional Services is one of several umbrella companies used by operators supplying male prostitutes as escorts, as advertised in Washington tabloid newspapers and the telephone yellow pages. Members of major news organizations also procured escort services from the ring, credit card documents show. These include Stanley Mark Tapscott, who was an assistant managing editor of the Washington Times. Mr. Tapscott, his resignation on June 20th was accepted, said he had not procured homosexual escorts or sexual services of any kind. He said in an interview that he had talked to two women he arranged to meet through the escort service as part of an investigation of dial-a-porn services he had initiated a year earlier when he was editor of the newspaper's Money section. The charges were made against his company, American Express Card. His editors knew of no such investigation.
That must have been like an awkward conversation. You're like working on this expose, and you're like, hey, Jimmy down the hall, his credit card's in here. I guess we have a little talk with Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, you into underage male prostitutes, are you? No. I was just doing a report on prostitution. See. And, I had to use my... I'm fired, aren't I? Yeah, I think you are.
Before joining the Times, Mr. Tapscott worked for the Office of Personnel Management in the Reagan administration. Managers of the escort ring said that a few women were used for clients who called with specific requests, but that the regular stable was altogether male. The documents show that a number of clients, lawyers, doctors, and business executives used corporate credit cards to procure escort services, and that a number of military officers from the United States and allied countries, including one foreign officer using a Department of Defense credit card, charged male escort services.
I'd like to know who that foreign officer was. They don't say. But again, to be honest, this doesn't necessarily, as far as I could tell, this didn't seem to have Mossad written on it so much as CIA.
One former top-level Pentagon officer said that for the past 8 years, military and civilian intelligence authorities have been concerned that a nest of homosexuals at top levels of the Reagan administration may have been penetrated by Soviet-backed espionage agents posing as male prostitutes, said one former top-level Pentagon official. A major concern, said the former official with longtime ties to top-ranking military intelligence officers, was that hostile foreign intelligence services were using young male prostitutes to compromise top administration homosexuals, thus making them subject to blackmail. We have known for many, many years that there is a department of the KGB, Soviet intelligence, whose job it is to prey on sexual deviants, said retired Lieutenant General Daniel Graham, former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Because closet homosexuals in government service can easily be turned through blackmail for espionage purposes, General Graham said, we have always in intelligence tried very hard not to be giving classified information to known homosexuals.
I mean,
faggots! Faggots! Faggots!
I mean, I'm telling you, man, like, Washington, D.C. is way fucking gayer than San Francisco. Way fucking gayer than San Francisco. And basically what they're saying is that the Reagan administration, you know, based Reagan, the Reagan administration was packed full of fucking faggots. Packed so thick with faggots, the military was withholding information from them because they were faggots. And they were like, well, we know that faggots are easy to blackmail, so we try not to get them anything that's too classified. I mean, for fuck's sake, this is how bad it was in 1989.
Those interviewed by The Times confirmed there were blackmail attempts by male prostitutes who wanted money and other favors to protect clients' secret sexual lives. The clients interviewed say a February 28 police raid on a house at 604 34th Place Northwest was set off by reports of blackmail and possible credit card fraud and complaints by district hotel operators about prostitution activities. In the raid, spearheaded by the Washington field office of the U.S. Secret Service, authorities found a telephone switchboard operation serving a half-dozen homosexual escort services. Secret Service agents and district police vice investigators confiscated financial records as well as ledgers, photos, diaries, telephone records, Rolodexes, and client lists of the prostitution network during the raid and with subsequent subpoenas issued by D.C. Superior Court. Although the confiscated material was turned over,
this story's been developing all morning long. There is something pretty intriguing that's happening right now. I know that some of you are not going to like this. This take right here might come out of left field. Start the day with a baseball take. The first 32 picks of the NFL draft are finally complete. The worst trade in NBA history. Now, I've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's out there trying to achieve historic greatness.
To district police on the scene, witnesses and law enforcement agents say the Secret Service kept one box of files containing names and other information about high-level government officials who were clients of male escort business.
So you had the Secret Service covering it up. This is the thing. It didn't get rotten overnight. It's been rotten in Washington a long time. In 1989, you had top-level officials fucking little boys, giving, in some instances, fucking little boys in the White House. And you had the Secret Service swoop in to cover it up once the lid was blown off of it. Taking the box of names and even though this is way outside their jurisdiction, just acting like the cleanup crew for the administration.
District police officials say that, to their knowledge, this is the first time the Secret Service has ever become involved in such a raid in this area. Initially, the Secret Service denied it was involved in the raid, but after a second raid of the 34th Place house on May 18th, the agency acknowledged its involvement in the investigation. Secret Service spokesman Bob Snow said the agency participated in the search and seizure operation because of its jurisdiction over credit card fraud. We come into such operations usually at the request of a U.S. attorney if the fraud involves $10,000 or more. We are not involved in any local prostitution investigation, Mr. Snow said.
Yeah, sure. You know who else was Secret Service, by the way? Who's covering up sex scandals right now for the administration? Dan Bongino. That's right. Dan Bongino, former mall cop for the ruling class. Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Witnesses to the February raid said 12 Secret Service agents in blue parkas entered the house and spent several hours collecting and removing boxes of files. Federal and district investigators have since interrogated several prostitutes working for the ring, as well as clients of the homosexual escort services operating under such names as Jovan, Man to Man, Metro Date, Ultimate Models, and Ultimate First Class. In addition to credit card fraud, the investigation is said to be focused on illegal interstate prostitution, abduction, and use of minors for sexual perversion, extortion, larceny, and related illicit drug trafficking and use of prostitutes and their clients. One of the chief operators of Professional Services, Inc. and a regular client of the service speculated in separate interviews that the investigation would be restricted because, quote, big names were involved. Henry Vinson, the operator, said a high-level official is going to try to block the investigation and may succeed, said Mr. Bullock, the Labor Secretary's liaison to the White House.
Look at that. Republicans covering up underage sex rings. Tradition as old as time, isn't it? See, this isn't new. This isn't new. Republicans have a lot of practice in covering up for pedophiles in the ruling class. Like I said, this is before Dennis Hastert. And everyone knew about Dennis Hastert, just like everyone knew about Epstein. This is nothing new. It's been this fucking rotten for a long time.
Mr. Vinson said he believes a highly placed federal official, whom he would not name, is working to derail the investigation, but he would not elaborate. Authorities have been investigating possible credit card fraud by the ring since last fall. As early as last October, 9 months before the police raid at 34th Place, Mr. Bullock was interviewed by investigators about grand larceny he said was committed against him by a male escort named Jason Michael Manos. According to Mr. Bullock, who first procured homosexual prostitutes from the network in June 1988, several clients, including himself, were blackmailed by the prostitutes. Operators of the ring told the Times that videotapes, audio tapes, and still photographs were made of sex acts performed by clients and the call boys, including perverted acts. Documents show that customers were charged for, quote, videotapes from the operations. In an attempt to hide the nature of credit card charges for some clients, Professional Services billed them for innocuous items such as a, quote, cremation urn or prayer cards. One of the ring's, quote, cred card processing companies was established by Robert A. Chambers, a funeral director whose family owns Chambers Funeral Home. Mr. Chambers, who declined to be interviewed, was said to have arranged with the Sovran Bank in Silver Spring to establish the submerchant account in the Chambers Funeral Home credit accounts in the name Professional Services, Inc. It is through this submerchant account that credit card vouchers and checks were processed from the male escort services. Following the February 28th police raid on the 34th Place residence, Chambers Funeral Home officials, at the request of W.W. Chambers, the patriarch of the family business, canceled the unauthorized Professional Services account, according to the company comptroller. Robert Chambers was fired by his father from the company at the time, a company official said. Mr. Vinson, Professional Services callboy dispatcher, is a trained mortician who also once worked for the clerk of the U.S. House of Representatives. Mr. Ballack is still involved in civil litigation with a local bank over payment of thousands of dollars of MasterCard charges of Mr. Manis in Mr. Ballack's name. Mr. Ballack said in an interview that Mr. Manis tricked him into taking a trip last fall to Greece in pursuit of employment with a Greek shipping tycoon for whom Mr. Manis had provided homosexual services. When Mr. Ballack returned from Athens, he found that Mr. Manis had taken $4,000 from his bank checking accounts. My bank accounts were in the negative. cashed savings bonds, and opened up about a dozen charge accounts in his name at major department stores along the East Coast. Also, Mr. Manis stole and demolished his car while Mr. Balak was on the trip to Greece, he said. This was a nightmare in my life, Mr. Balak said, explaining that his involvement with Mr. Manis was brought about by loneliness, laziness. Mr. Balak said his financial losses occurred after Mr. Manis threatened to expose to his government superiors his homosexual involvement with the prostitution ring. Mr. Balak said he informed his superior at OPM, Edward Gus, of the blackmail attempts and other problems involving Mr. Manis. The Times has been unable to locate Mr. Manis, who reportedly has returned to the district in recent weeks. Mr. Dutcher, who now heads a private consulting firm called the Dutcher Company, was charged with placing Reagan-oriented conservatives into the career civil service during the closing years of Mr. Reagan's presidency. He described himself as bisexual and said stress drove him to seek out a male prostitute. I only used the service once. I only saw the person once. This person was there no longer than 35 minutes, Mr. Dutcher said. He confirmed paying $155, which was charged to his Visa card. The sexual encounter was brief, and the sex was safe, extremely. I've had friends who died of AIDS, said Mr. Dutcher. Mr. Dutcher said he never used his White House personnel position to place anyone in a government position whom he knew to be homosexual. My priority was my job, not my private life, he said. According to a credit voucher, Todd Blodgett's account was charged $325 on May 19, 1988, for mail escort service referral by professional services.
Anyway, they go, most of what they go on from here is just talking about like the credit card charges and stuff like that. Bottom line is the Craig Spence, who was named in the article as being, that's the guy that was spending $20,000 a month and arranging for powerful people to have underage gay escorts, gay prostitutes. That guy started saying that he was fearing for his life and that everything he did was for powerful people and that he was, going to go down, that he was going to be a patsy. And then he was found dead. He was found dead under kind of unusual circumstances, actually. So here's a little timeline of what happened here. He said he feared for his life.
These tactical gloves are tough enough to survive open flame and sharp objects, yet flexible enough for everyday use. Meet the military-grade gloves that are breaking the internet. Nobody believed me at first, but now everybody wants one. Check that out. When I told my friends I spent $49 on gloves that could handle sharp blades, fire, and broken glass, they laughed. But once I showed them what it could do, they begged me to tell them where I got it. They're called Ruck and Recon Tactical Gloves. These gloves are redefining what's possible with classified military-grade hand protection. They survived a 1,340-degree Fahrenheit flame test, which is enough to melt aluminium, and even works against sharp objects like blades and broken glass. The secret? They're crafted from military-grade Kevlar, the same material used in bulletproof vests. That means they're not only fire-resistant, but built to withstand freezing cold, soaking wet, and brutally rough conditions, without breaking a sweat. You can finally say goodbye to weak and boring gloves that fail when you need them most. Thousands of Americans have already swapped their old work gloves for this ultra-protective invention, and here's why they love it. Reason 1, it's Kevlar-lined fabric with hardened TPR knuckle. Traditional work gloves are unreliable, wasteful, and often let you down. But Ruck and Recon tactical gloves are fire-tested. They deflect and redistribute all the kinetic force on contact. It's like strapping a combat shield to your knuckles. Nothing gets through. Reason 2, they're extremely durable. These gloves give you maximum protection that lasts for years, not weeks. They're made to last a lifetime. So instead of burning through pair after pair of cheap gloves, you buy once and never look back. Reason 3, touchscreen compatibility. No need to rip them off just to check your phone mid-task. The fingertips work well on screen so you can answer calls, scroll, or use any device without removing your gloves. Reason 4, it uses military technology. Ruck and Recon were originally designed for military use because the Army needed gloves that would work in extreme weather. Rain, snow, freezing cold, you name it. But after years of classified use on the battlefield, the patent recently expired, and now civilians can get their hands on it. But here's where things get interesting. Some people are saying it could be banned again soon. Why? Because these gloves were originally built for combat, not store shelves. And now, the U.S. Product Safety Commission is reviewing whether something this tough should even be available to the general public. So, while it's still on the market, people are scrambling.
In July. By August, he had disappeared from public view, and had started traveling around, like moving around from New York to Tokyo. The escort service, of course, was shut down. The scandal was quickly buried. There was no investigation because the Secret Service kind of covered everything up. And then by November 10th, 1989, they found Craig Spence dead in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Massachusetts, in Boston, Massachusetts. So he checked in under his real name, allegedly told staff not to disturb him, and then he is seen drinking alone at the hotel bar. And then they went into his room. Let me see here. I had the notes here. Everything was really fucking weird. Oh, I think I forgot to get the notes on this one. They found him locked. The short version is they found him locked in his own room, dead, with a note that said, "Sorry, Mr. Director," or something. It was some weird crypt. Let me find the actual note. Let's see here. Let's see here. What did I got here? The Yeah, here it is. So he was found fully dressed in a black tuxedo with a white bow tie and white suspenders. And he had, let's see here. He was wearing a Walkman headset that was playing Mozart's A Little Night Music, which was a theatrical presentation. Let's see. Let me see if I can find that. Mozart's A Little Night Music. Maybe we can see what that sounds like. So this was the song that was playing. So this is what was playing in his headphones. And then the note said, where'd it go? He had barricaded the room. The door was barricaded with a king-size bed and chair, requiring police and firefighters to saw through the door to gain entry. Let's see here. Items found in the room. 7 small packets of Xanax, an anti-anxiety drug, blah, blah, blah. They were hidden in a false ceiling in the bathroom with 1 pill missing. Let's see here. The autopsy showed that he had antidepressants and alcohol in his system, but ruled that it was an overdose of the drugs. He had a newspaper clipping. The newspaper clipping was about the efforts of the CIA agent, or the efforts to protect CIA agents from testifying before government bodies. So he had a clipped out article talking about the CIA protecting CIA agents from testifying. He also had his birth certificate and will in the room. Oh, I'm trying to find the note, though. He had scribbled something on the mirror in the bathroom. Let me see if I... Oh, here it is. Okay. So he had sent a video postcard 2 weeks before his death. Spence hired a production company to record a 7-minute video for friends filmed in his dining room. In it, he appeared upbeat and joking about his dog Winston and avoiding explicit mention of suicide, but referred to his message "in case I ever disappear." Let's see here. Here it is. The note was written in a black felt tip marker on the mirror of the hotel room, addressed to someone referred to as Chief. It said, "Chief, consider this my resignation, effective immediately. As you always said, you can't ask others to make a sacrifice if you're not ready to do the same. Life is duty. God bless America." As a postscript, he added, "To the Ritz, please forgive this inconvenience." So, yeah. So, yeah, I guess, another instance of an Epstein-style character in Washington. There's always an Epstein. There's always an Epstein. Because these guys, we're basically ruled over by homosexual pedophiles. That's really, when it comes right down to it, all of our problems really stem from the fact that we've allowed demonic homosexual faggots that fuck little boys to run the country. We've basically lifted any kind of selection pressures from the ruling class, and essentially just rewarded liars and sellouts and traitors, and just continue to vote for the scum of the earth and throwing people throwing their hands up in the air. What are you going to do? I voted for the lesser of two evils. For generations. For generations, Americans have allowed this to go on. And now we're where we are today because of it.